whoa. Oh, who the fuck are you, Mr. Smiley?
Smiley?
Yeah.
No one get this close.
The movie opens by showing an underground boxing ring, where Carter, riding high on a streak of consecutive wins, basks in his confidence. But the mood shifts instantly when Dalton, an infamous, feared fighter, steps into the ring. The moment he pulls off his hoodie, Carter's swagger fades. This is a winner-takes-all fight. Realizing he's outmatched, Carter wisely backs out, forfeiting the fight and handing all the prize money to Dalton. But one furious thug, upset over a lost bet, lashes out and tries to stab Dalton. It backfires instantly. Dalton barely reacts, standing tall like a superhero, while the attacker begins to realize just how badly he's miscalculated. As Dalton tends to his wound, a woman named Frankie approaches, recognizing him immediately. She explains that her bar has been taken over by troublemakers, and the police have done little to help. Impressed by Dalton's presence, she offers him a job as head bouncer, $5,000 a week, totaling $20,000 a month. Dalton isn't convinced. With no phone, no home, and a beat-up car, he's worn down by life. At a train crossing, he briefly considers giving up entirely. But as he reconsiders, his car refuses to start and a train crashes into it. Miraculously, Dalton survives with barely a scratch. Maybe Frankie's offer is worth taking after all. Dalton arrives in the quiet town and meets Charlie, a young woman who runs a bookstore with her father. They point him toward the bar ironically named the Roadhouse. When he steps inside, the waiter, Billy, immediately recognizes him. Dalton, it seems, has a bit of a legendary status. For the moment, the place feels calm, so much so that Dalton even comments on the peaceful vibe. Laura, the barista, just laughs, knowing it won't last. And she's right. That night, chaos erupts, bottles and glasses fly, and even the live band gets involved in the brawl. But Dalton? He stays on the sidelines. Wait if you like this video. Don't stand there like Dalton from the Roadhouse. Hit that like button and subscribe for more epic stories to come. Now back to it. When a biker gang storms in, Laura knows trouble is brewing. They start tearing the place apart without a second thought.
Whoa. No, I don't want to. Oh, who the fuck are you, Mr. Smiley?
Smiley?
Yeah.
Honestly, he's probably the punching thing.
Another one.
That's when Dalton makes his move. With a calm demeanor, he strolls outside and casually tampers with their bikes, instantly drawing their attention. As they confront him, he offers them a chance to back off peacefully, even tossing out a few dry jokes about insurance and hospital distance. But when the fight kicks off, Dalton makes quick work of them, dodging blows and dropping each one with ease, all without breaking a sweat. After the fight, Dalton borrows Frankie's car and personally drives the injured bikers to the hospital. There, a nurse named Ellie playfully calls him a troublemaker for showing up with a carload of bruised thugs. But when she notices he's bleeding, she offers to treat him properly, his makeshift bandage clearly not doing the job. She asks if he ever actually wins these fights, but Dalton, calm as ever, replies that no one truly wins a fight. As he heads out, a few rough-looking guys are already eyeing him, clearly eager to stir up more trouble. Back at the Roadhouse, Frankie gives Dalton his first week's pay and offers him a place to stay, her old boathouse. She jokes about a crocodile that likes to linger nearby and warns him to stay alert. And the boathouse. It's literally just called the boat. Who even names these places, right? That night, Dalton is haunted by a rough dream, reliving his last UFC fight as the challenger. Just as the tension in the dream peaks, Laura shows up with breakfast and gently wakes him. She mentions that the Roadhouse has seen more than its share of bouncers, but she's hopeful things will be different with Dalton. Later, he stops by Charlie's bookstore to use the computer, only to find that word of his fight with the biker gang has already spread through town. While he's browsing, trouble erupts nearby, more bikers stirring up chaos at a local shop. Charlie grabs a bat and bravely steps in, ready to confront the bikers. They laugh at her until Dalton appears. The moment they see him, their confidence fades, and they back off without a fight. As the days pass, Dalton begins to settle in, forming new friendships and starting to feel at home in the town. Meanwhile, out on a boat, gently rocking with the waves, the biker boss, Brant, gets a shave, calmly biding his time. Frustrated, Brant vents his anger. His hired bikers were supposed to intimidate local businesses, but Dalton's presence is throwing a wrench in his plans. Back at the roadhouse, another fight erupts, this time sparked by a dispute over music. Dalton seizes the moment to coach Billy, showing him the ropes. He advises, if someone pulls a knife, keep your distance and don't close in. Billy steps in and breaks up the fight just as Dalton instructed. When tensions flare again, Dalton jumps in briefly, then lets Billy take control. Over the following days, Dalton continues to train him, and Billy quickly picks up the skills. Meanwhile, Dalton starts to take notice of another employee, Reef, especially the scars on his knuckles. Dalton quickly realizes that Reef is a boxer and sees an opportunity. He pairs Reef with Billy, forming a solid team to keep order at the roadhouse, giving Dalton a bit more breathing room. One night, while helping a drunk patron out the door, Dalton notices the biker gang lingering outside. The bikers shoot him a hostile glare and vow to return. That night, Dalton is plagued by more nightmares from his UFC days, a time when he was fearless, throwing punches and calling out opponents without hesitation. Now, he's more guarded. The next morning at the roadhouse, he runs into Ellie again, and he can't help but wonder why everyone around here seems so aggressive. Dalton and Ellie's connection deepens, shifting from friendly banter to something more flirtatious. After another week on the job, Dalton picks up his pay and heads back to the boathouse. But along the way, he notices a car trailing him. Without warning, it accelerates, nearly hitting him. Dalton narrowly dodges. The car doesn't stop. Instead, it slams into him and a nearby truck, sending them both crashing off the bridge. Dalton survives the crash, but when he returns to the boathouse, he finds Del, the biker gang's leader, waiting with a gun. Acting quickly, Dalton flips the table, shattering Del's knees and throwing him into the water. He tries to keep things from escalating further, but Frankie's warning about the crocodile wasn't a joke. Sure enough, the massive reptile surfaces and Del doesn't make it out. The next morning, police search the waters for Del's body, but a local casually remarks that crocodiles often stash their prey, so they're unlikely to find. Later, at the bookstore, Charlie shows Dalton a map of the roadhouse, and something about it raises his suspicions. As he steps outside, a stranger confronts him, demanding he get in the car to meet Brant. Dalton's presence is clearly starting to rattle the wrong people. Dalton, unfazed as always, coolly warns the man that losing his index finger would make handling a gun difficult. The thug tries to assert himself, but Dalton is faster, swiftly disabling the finger without hesitation. With the threat neutralized, he leaves a clear message. If Brant wants a meeting, go to the roadside pub to find him. Back at the roadhouse, Dalton begins pressing Frankie for answers. Why were Del and his crew so determined to target the bar? Frankie brushes it off, suggesting it's likely just some petty turf war. Meanwhile, the injured man returns to Brant, admitting he failed to bring Dalton in. Brant's frustration boils. His carefully laid plans are unraveling, all because of one unshakable bouncer. Just as he's on the verge of losing control, a call comes through. It's his father, phoning from prison. Instead of answering the call, Brant hurls the phone out the window and orders the man with the broken finger to retrieve it. Elsewhere, Knox, still coming down from a wild night out, receives a call from Brant's father, who wants him to step in and clean up the chaos Brant has created. Knox doesn't hesitate. He's ready to move immediately. Meanwhile, Ellie surprises Dalton by borrowing her ex-boyfriend's boat, and taking him out to her favorite spot in the open sea, a quiet place where she loves to escape. As they talk, Dalton brings up his run-ins with a man named Brant. Ellie reveals that Brant's family is extremely wealthy and owns a significant portion of the surrounding land. The conversation shifts when Ellie begins asking about Dalton's past, making him uneasy. He insists it's something she wouldn't want to hear, but Ellie already knows, and it doesn't change how she sees him. Dalton finally lets his guard down, opening up to Ellie as the two share a more intimate moment. Meanwhile, Knox arrives in town with flair, pulling up in a flashy Ferrari and carelessly knocking over some motorcycles outside Brant's house. Making his presence known, he casually comments on the lack of food. When Brant returns, Knox greets him with a sharp slap, making it clear that his father sent him to fix the chaos Brant created and to deal with the problem named Dalton. Despite the slap, Brant manages to persuade Knox to give him one last shot at dealing with Dalton. Later, Ellie drops Dalton off at the boathouse, but waiting for him are police officers who want to take him in for questioning about the incident with Dell. At the station, the sheriff issues a thinly veiled threat: leave town or face the consequences. Dalton's sharp, unbothered responses only provoke the officers further. They drag him from the car, beat him, and hold him at gunpoint. At that moment, Ellie arrives and slaps the sheriff, her father, before taking Dalton home herself. Along the way, she explains that her father was once close to Brant's dad, but after his imprisonment, he began working for Brant instead. Meanwhile, Brant causes a scene at the bookstore, stirring up more trouble. Later that evening, as Dalton returns for his shift at the roadhouse, Brant finally appears ready for a face-to-face confrontation. Brant realizes Dalton isn't someone who can be threatened or bribed. Digging into his past, he discovers the infamous UFC fight where Dalton killed his opponent in the ring, a match now circulating on YouTube. With that, Brant unleashes his enforcer, Knox. The biker gang storms the roadhouse, and Knox strides in, declaring the bar his territory. He begins trashing the place and even goes so far as to pull a woman away from her date, marking his arrival with chaos. Billy and Reef quickly step in to stop the chaos, but Knox takes them down effortlessly, knocking Billy out cold and dropping Reef without breaking a sweat. With both bouncers down, the bar erupts into a full-scale brawl. Dalton, hoping for a quiet coffee break, is pulled straight into the mayhem. Knox, clearly targeting him, makes it known he came to town for one reason: to face Dalton. Dalton and Knox finally square off, but Knox dominates the fight, his raw power and backup from the gang tipping the odds in his favor. Dalton takes a brutal beating before his allies manage to step in. Eventually, Knox hauls Dalton outside and leaves him battered in the dirt. Despite the pain, Dalton slowly rises and walks away just as Ellie and the police arrive on the scene. Behind them, the roadhouse lies in ruins. As Dalton packs his bags at the boathouse, Frankie finally comes clean. Brant plans to build a luxury resort, and she's the last holdout standing in his way. Dalton appears indifferent at first, but Frankie admits she's more frightened than she's ever let on. Elsewhere, Brant stares at his resort blueprints when he gets the news Dalton is still alive. On his way to the bus stop, Dalton sees smoke rising from Charlie's bookstore. Firefighters inform him that Charlie and her father have already been rushed to the hospital. She was the first to welcome him to town, and that memory weighs heavily. Realizing he can't turn his back now, Dalton changes course and heads straight for Brant's estate. Dalton corners one of Brant's men and makes it clear burning down Charlie's bookstore was a grave mistake. Without hesitation, he crushes the man's trachea, leaving him gasping before shoving him into the pool. As the water ripples around the struggling body, Dalton reveals his own fear, not of others, but of what he becomes when someone pushes him too far because he knows exactly what comes next. The man dies in the pool, his body left floating in silence. One of the nearby bikers, unnerved as he watches Dalton load the injured goon into a truck, quickly gives up critical information: Brant's upcoming meeting involving a large sum of money. Dalton wastes no time. He hunts down a corrupt cop, knocks him out, and discovers a suitcase packed with enough cash to last a lifetime. Seizing the opportunity, he frames the officer for murder, then knocks him out once more to seal the setup. Dalton makes a call from a payphone, alerting both the police and the press to the location. As he finishes rigging the area with explosives, Ellie's father shows up with urgent news. Brandt has taken Ellie and is threatening to kill her unless the money is returned. Though unsure whether the threat is genuine, Dalton decides to bring the cash, unwilling to take the risk with Ellie's life. Dalton quietly commandeers a boat, slipping away unnoticed even by Ellie's ex-boyfriend, a police officer. Meanwhile, Knox arrives at Brandt's estate in dramatic fashion, only to find the place empty. Over on Brandt's boat, the sheriff lounges casually, dismissing the idea of Ellie's kidnapping as nonsense until Brandt unexpectedly admits he did take her. That's when Dalton steps in, revealing the real twist he's been planning all along. Brandt, seething with frustration, demands his money, furious that Dalton keeps disrupting his plans. Just then, Knox appears on the horizon, creating the perfect distraction. Dalton seizes the moment and detonates the explosives, throwing the scene into chaos. Amid the confusion, he slips away to search for Ellie, eventually finding her locked in a room just as the blast pressure forces the window open. Dalton and Ellie dive into the water as attackers close in. While Dalton fends them off, Ellie reaches a boat only to find Brandt already aboard. He grabs her and speeds off, heading straight for the roadhouse to finish what he started. Meanwhile, Dalton is locked in a brutal fight with Knox. Managing to board Brandt's boat mid-chase, Dalton takes control just as Knox lunges for him. With a sharp turn of the wheel, he sends Knox hurtling overboard. Enraged, Brandt steers his boat straight at Dalton in a last-ditch attempt to ram him, but Dalton leaps aboard just in time. As Ellie struggles with Brandt, Dalton intervenes, landing a blow that knocks Brandt down. The boat capsizes near the roadhouse, but Dalton and Ellie escape safely. Brandt survives the wreck, but Dalton is ready to end things for good. When Brandt lunges with a fishing spear, Dalton swiftly disarms him and knocks him out cold. Knox arrives, ready for another round, and this time, it's a level playing field. The fight is brutal, with both men giving it everything they've got. Dalton holds his own, but Knox keeps landing punishing blows, escalating the intensity with every strike.
Do it! Do your fucking job! What is it?
Assuring Dalton that he's in the clear, but urges him to leave town. Frankie remains optimistic, confident the roadhouse will survive. In the closing moments, Dalton's bus pulls away just as Charlie's father discovers the suitcase full of cash. Grateful and hoping to thank him, he looks up. Dalton is already gone.